Hello, everyone. Happy New Year's. In order to celebrate the last day of the year, I'm going to talk about my favorite books of 2025. I have my favorite fiction books, my favorite nonfiction books, my favorite rereads, and also 6 books that I read, didn't love, but might be willing to give another chance to. Maybe. We'll see. One of the best books I read this year was The Days of Abandonment. I absolutely love this book. This is the author of My Brilliant Best Friend series, of which I've only read book 1, but I have the rest and I'm looking forward to reading them. This book was beautiful. I absolutely loved it. This is about a woman who is abandoned by her husband and she loses it completely. She has a complete breakdown and kind of has to pick herself back up. And although it's not the most pleasant topic, I loved listening to this book. I actually listened to it and also followed along in my book and tabbed it. It was beautiful. Would highly, highly recommend it to anyone who wants something really just visceral and honest and disturbing. Another book that I loved was Human Acts by Nobel Prize winner Hong Kong. This is my second book by her. I also read The Vegetarian. This book is all about a massacre in South Korea in the 1990s, where the students were protesting some actions by the government. So the government came in and killed them all. And so book is about the survivors, about the victims, about the parents. The victims were mostly college students. So this book was very emotional, very painful, but also extremely, extremely beautiful to read. Another book that I absolutely loved, and I just finished this one last week, around Christmas, was Housekeeping by Marilyn Robinson. I did try to read another book by her, which was Gilead. The one that won the Pulitzer Prize a couple years ago, and I didn't really connect to it, but this one I absolutely loved, and I went crazy annotating this book, highlighting, underlining. I found this book just a beautiful long poem of joy. It's about these girls who are being raised by various people. They're raised by their mother who commits suicide. They are raised by their grandmother who dies, and then they're raised by some silly aunts and then great aunts, and then later on by their mother's sister, who may be the most interesting character of all. And it's this journey, and it kind of starts out the girls don't have much personality, but as the book develops, their personalities grow. It's kind of an amazing, poetic, literary experience reading this book, and I can't believe I put off reading it for so long, but I absolutely loved this beautiful book. I actually I wanted to buy myself a new copy of this, and I accidentally bought this. And it's so tiny. It's also extremely cute, but so tiny. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I guess it's just kind of a novelty item to have, but I was hoping to just get a fancy copy of this book and transfer my notes too, but I'm stuck with this adorable little thing that I guess I love. Another book that I loved was The Virgin Suicides. This is about a group of boys who live in the neighborhood where this family full of daughters is becoming very infamous because the daughters are all committing suicide one by one. And the boys are obsessed with these girls, and they're just kind of narrating what happens with these girls. And I thought this book was just captivating. This is another classic that I put off for a long time to read, and I absolutely loved it when I did. So another very poetic book. Tender is the Flesh is one of the most disturbing books I ever read in my life, but I also loved it because it was just so meaningful and had so much to say. This book is about a future where people can no longer eat meat, so they start eating people, but they have to breed people and prepare them for this purpose, and it's all about the politics and economics and various legalities, but it's also just the most horrifying, disturbing book you could ever imagine. I mean, this is as bad as you can ever imagine. All the most horrible things were way worse in this book than I ever imagined. So this was a shock, but I guess it was a good shock because it was amazing. Another book I loved was White Tiger. This is one that I tried reading in the past but couldn't get into. But then when I finally did, there's no tabs because I started tabbing halfway, well, the last couple months. So the tabbing is new for me. So a lot of these books are not tabbed just because I was not tabbing at the time I read them. White Tiger was beautiful. This is about a man in India who is talking about class issues, social issues, and he works for a wealthy family, and he's the bad guy. And but you kind of love him because he's an amazing main character villain. Very, very amazing book. He's a driver for this family, and he's kind of narrating various issues in India through this book. And there's a TV show, and I watched the trailer for it, and it looked really good. Oh no, not a TV show, a movie. And the trailer looked really, really crazy and exciting. So, but yeah, I'm really glad that I finally read this book, even though it was hard to get into and really connect at first. But I did. Another book I absolutely loved was The Netanyahus. This is the winner of the Pulitzer Prize, and this is not really exactly fiction. Does it say it's fiction? At the end, the author kind of sort of says, this isn't fiction, so I wasn't sure where to put it. He kind of says, this was told to me by my friend, who is a very famous person, and I kind of turned it into a novel. But this is all about the childhood of the current president of Israel, Netanyahu, and his crazy family and their visit to the United States when he was a child, and how they visit this college town. And this book was just bonkers. I was just at the edge of my seat reading this. The things that happen are crazy. Probably the best book I read this year was We Need to Talk About Kevin. This book was such an experience. This is all about a mother whose son is in prison for committing mass murder, and she's trying to figure out what happened by writing these letters to her husband about Kevin and his childhood and his upbringing and all the things that happened, and really just trying to understand what happened and why her son became a mass murderer. And I just absolutely adored this book. I felt so connected to it. I was just hooked to every word that that the mother said about her son, and it was such a psychological thriller. Love this book. This was a surprise for me. I never expected an Emily Henry book to ever make a list of favorites, but this one did, because I loved it. It was beautiful. I right from the start, I was completely connected to these two main characters. I fell in love with them. I cried and laughed, and I was just totally obsessed with the story. This hit really close to me. I did try. I also read Great Big Beautiful Life, her new book this year. I didn't like it. It's not that I didn't like it. I just didn't love it. I guess I just felt a bit of a letdown after A Funny Story. This one was quite perfect for me. And I am currently trying to read Book Lovers, which it's okay. We'll see. I'm not as excited about it as I was with this one. So probably should reread this one soon to see if I still love it, or maybe it was just, when you read the right book at the right time. That might have been the case for this one, but I loved it. Absolutely loved it. This was quite an experience for me. It really made me want to pick up the other Emily Henry books that I hadn't yet read and give them a go to see if she can make me feel the way that this book did again. And then finally, Crossroads by Jonathan Franzen. This is my second book by this author. The other one is The Corrections, and which I really, really liked. But this one I absolutely loved. And this one was very long, but it didn't feel very long. And I think there are more coming. I think it's supposed to be a trilogy, and it's about this family, and they're sort of kind of part of a religious cult. But there's just so much more to it. The chapters alternate between the various characters and their life stories and their experiences. And I think Jonathan Franzen is an incredible writer, and the way he writes characters is just captivating. And I definitely felt this way about his other book, The Corrections, but this one just really affected me. This one I could not put down. I think I read it all the way through. I couldn't let go of this book. was just fascinating, just amazing. Would highly recommend that one. Next, I'm going to talk about nonfictions. I read Autocracy Inc. by Anne Applebaum, and this author also wrote another book that I read, Twilight of Democracy, and this one is all about various dictators around the world and how they run their countries, and it's a very interesting look at how democracies turn to dictatorships and the factors that lead to that. I kind of got stuck on the whole deterioration of our society this year for some reason. So I also read Dark Money, which is all about the radical right and the billionaires who fund the radical right. And this book I read very early in the year, and I read so many books on this subject, but this one really started it all for me, to really try to understand who's behind what's going on in our country right now. I also read Money, Lies, and God by Catherine Stewart. This one was very interesting because she went in and she was like a journalist who interviewed a lot of right-wing groups and tried to get to the bottom of why people are supporting the political party that they do. And this was scary. It was very scary. And of course, after I finished that, I had to read The Kingdom, The Power, and the Glory, which was very similar, but written by an insider, Tim Alberta, who actually is part of an evangelical family. But this was sort of on the same topic and really exploring the evangelical movement and why they are supporting Donald Trump and exactly how the system works. So I found that fascinating. I also got very interested in pyramid schemes, which is another big part of the radical right movement. They're all about pyramid schemes, and this one explored that as well. This is a new book that came out this year, and I really enjoyed it. I'm very interested in pyramid schemes. I find them absolutely fascinating, the psychology and the economic ramifications. So this book was so interesting to me. Let's see, on that subject, I also read To Make Men Free, The History of the Republican Party by Heather Cox Richardson. This was very interesting. This is all about the history of the Republican Party and kind of how they got to where they are now. So very fascinating book. I'm a big fan of that author. And then After the Fall, Ben Rhodes. This is kind of an older book. This was written after Ben Rhodes was Barack Obama's speechwriter, and this was his second book that he wrote about what's happening in the United States and what factors in the United States are contributing to the rise of the right and the obsession with Donald Trump. So I found this book also very, very interesting. Really enjoyed that. I read Alexei Navalny's Patriot, which was published after his death, and these are just a lot of his writings about assassination attempts and various experiences fighting Vladimir Putin and the Russian elites. So this book was beautiful and heartbreaking, and I really enjoyed his voice, and he's such a fascinating human. So I absolutely love this book. I also, on a positive note, I read Humankind, and I also got my husband to read this one in his book group. This is a very positive book about humanity and the history of humanity and why humanity is good, why people are good, and why history paints things in a negative way, but it actually is, it kind of tries to turn everything positive, which, kind of need to stay positive right now. And this book was very helpful for that. It took a lot of events, such as like the analysis of what was that book called? I can't even think right now. The book where the little boys get trapped on an island and kill each other, or I cannot remember the name of the book. Anyway, so it talks about how like that actually happened in real life and how these boys got trapped on an island and they had a really nice society. Oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed that I cannot remember the name of that book. Oh, it is gone. It is out of my head. I had it a second ago and it's gone. But anyway, so it just it talks about things like that, how people want to paint things in a negative way because it's kind of exciting, but things are actually better than people think. And then finally, Everything is Tuberculosis by John Green. This was an amazing read. This was very quick. I think I might have read it in a day. It's all about tuberculosis, and I'm not that interested in tuberculosis or infectious diseases, but this book was amazing. It was so well written, just as the Anthropocene and Reviewed was also amazing, his other nonfiction book. He is such a great nonfiction writer, so I would highly recommend this book. I think it's supposed to be one of the best books, one of the best nonfiction books of the year. And yeah, it reads so well. It is so engaging. He is such an engaging writer, and you really get sucked into this. You get sucked into his special interest, which in this case is tuberculosis, and why it's so important to understand it, and why it's important for us to understand it today. So, would highly recommend that as well. And then finally, not finally, but next I'm going to talk about the books I reread this year that I just loved. I reread Ego's the Enemy. This is very important to me because I had some career situations that made me very stressed out and upset. And this book was really good to read at the time to help me deal with what I was going through. And I actually had the same exact thing happen last year, and I read this book last year when it happened, and it sort of helped, but it didn't help as much as it could have. And I think it was this year I actually paired it with The Obstacle is the Way, which I read probably in 2017, 18. It's been a while, but I reread both these books at the same time, back to back, and it really helped me understand difficulties that were happening to me and help me turn them into positive situations. And I have to say, yes, I was very lucky, but everything worked out really well for me. And I don't think I could have done it without these two books. So Ryan Holiday is my guru, self-help guru. I also reread Twilight of Democracy by Anne Applebaum because I was reading her other book that I already mentioned about the dictatorships. And this is the one she wrote previously. It's all about how democracies turn into authoritative governments around the world. And it was very fascinating, especially going with what's going on today. So it's important to know about these things. Carry On was a surprise. I read this book years ago. I did not like it at all. I didn't understand it really. I understood it, but not enough to enjoy it. This kind of a strange writing style where instead of the story unfolding in front of you, it's just kind of like, remember when this happened, remember that happened. It's kind of telling the story in flashbacks or descriptions of things that already happened. With Harry Potter, you get books 1 through 7 and they kind of unfold with Harry. This one, it's almost like you're thrown into the last book and you just have to kind of review everything that already happened. But the second read, it was great. I really enjoyed it on the second read. I definitely connected to it more, and I loved it. I loved it enough to get the other two books and read them as well. So I guess some books are better on a reread, and this is definitely one of them for me, but I really loved it the second time around. I also reread Hidden Potential, The Science of Achieving Great Things by Adam Grant. I really liked this book the first time, and I guess I didn't remember it too well, but then when I was reading it the second time, I realized how much of his teachings I adapted, and this kind of goes with Ryan Holiday's The Obstacle is the Way, and also just like how to get more out of yourself, how to do better things, how to do better, how to deal with conflict, how to push yourself harder and achieve better. So I it's hard for me to recall specifics, but I think I did. After reading the book, I adapted so much of what he said just because I really connected to his writing. And strength of character, motivation, dealings with imperfections, learning from others. This is another one that I read earlier in the year, so it's hard for me to really pull specifics out of there. But yeah, I got a lot of value from this book, so I'd recommend it. And then finally, this is a nonfiction. This is a fiction book by Weika Wang that I read, Chemistry, and on the topic of women losing their mind, which is a genre I really enjoy. This is all about a PhD chemistry student who loses her mind, and this book is just the deterioration of her and her goals and her relationships and her career and everything about her. And I loved it. I love books like that. It was really unhinged. And I liked it even more the second time. Finally, these books I read and I did not like. But I believe maybe since they are so well loved, I'm wrong. So I'll give them another go at some point. Breakfast of Champions, I kind of liked this one at first, but then it started grating on my nerves. And it was so quirky and gimmicky that I just started having a really hard time focusing on it, especially when no plot developed. It was just kind of a bunch of nonsense that I feel like this writing style has been done by other writers in a better way. I just started hating it, and I had a really hard time finishing it, but I might try it again, and I might get more value out of it because I know this is a beloved book, and a lot of people love Breakfast of Champions. And I am a big Kurt Vonnegut fan. I read Small Things Like These and Foster. I really didn't care for these two stories. I failed to connect with them. I read a collection of her short stories, and I liked them very much. So I'm surprised that I did not like these books. So I'll give them another go, or I might give them to my kids. We'll see. But maybe she's worth another shot. This was a surprise to me because I really liked Leigh Bardugo. I really enjoy Leigh Bardugo's other books, but Six of Crows was extremely hard for me to focus on. I think I had to reread the first chapter multiple times. I had to reread the second chapter at least twice. I think I read the first chapter 3 times. I was having such a hard time understanding what was going on, and it didn't help that the main character in the first chapter had almost nothing. I don't think he had anything to do with the rest of the book. I don't think he ever came back, which was very confusing. I also didn't really know the world. I think she establishes this world in other previous books that I didn't read. I liked parts of this book, but as a whole, I feel like another reading would do it more justice, especially since people love this book so much. There was a lot of unfamiliar terminology that this author created for this universe. Again, it's hard jumping into a fantasy for me. A lot of it just kind of goes in one ear and out the other for me, and I just stop caring. So I think I'm going to have to read this one. A Court of Throne and Roses. I'm holding on to this book mainly because I have the second one, and I want to give it a try. I already have a friend who wants this book, so I might just give this to her. It was boring. And I actually read another book this month that was very similar to this, and that one is Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. And I almost felt like it was a very similar story, but it was much better as literature. This isn't well written, and the relationships are very clunky. There is a very good section of this book that I really enjoyed, and that is after I even tabbed it. It's after Riceland walks in and kind of changes everything. He changes the entire dynamic, and things start to get really serious, and all of a sudden this entire world starts opening up, and I really enjoyed that. That was very interesting to me, maybe because I was just so bored before. Finally, it kind of woke me up, and I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. But then the ending was disappointing. There's this riddle, and it was, I don't know, it was disappointing. And I also didn't really get the love story that was presented in this book, which I think I understand why she did it the way she did. But again, I'm going to try the second one. We'll see. Maybe I'll like it more. If I think where this book is going, if I'm right about where this book is going, I think I'm going to enjoy it more. But in terms of rereading this, I might end up just giving this away to a friend. I bought it new, so I kind of regret that. And I think part of the reason I don't want to get rid of it is because I bought it new. I buy most of my books used, so when I buy something new, I have a hard time letting go. This is another book I bought new, and the reason I bought it new is because I was just obsessed with Carry On, which is book one. I read book two. Again, I loved it. I thought it was great. Super exciting story. This is book three, and this book is so long. And maybe it's because I read all three in one go, and I just got tired of these characters, and I got tired of the dynamics and their relationships. I was so done by this book. And this book just didn't really do anything for me. So again, I bought it new. I spent the money, so I probably should just give it another go. I'm hoping, because I didn't like Carry On the first time and I loved it the second time, it'll be the same with this book. But we'll see. Anyway, so those are the books that I read and will probably get another chance to. Books I reread, best fiction and best nonfiction. I had a great reading year this year, and I tried a very fun reading challenge where I just picked shelves off my bookshelf and just visited most of the books on that shelf and made decisions on hauled them, read them all the way through, decided to put them back. I've also changed my shelves a lot, so I'll do a new shelf tour maybe sometime next week to celebrate the start of the year. But I've made a lot of changes, and I've done a lot of new fun things this year, and I've discovered a lot of really great books, and I've started tabbing, which has been a really fun experience for me. I really enjoy tabbing, so I do want to read books deeper next year. Anyway, thank you for watching, and thank you for watching if you've been watching all year and my other videos, and I really appreciate the comments, and I really, really loved connecting with the people that I've been able to connect through this channel with this year. Again, thank you, and Happy New Year.